So are you new to guitar and are wondering what all this tab business is about? Well, we're here to help you out with that. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. My name is Kevin Doe here with Equipboard. And today we're going to dive into a bit of a 101 lesson for you folks just starting out on the guitar, and that's how to read tablature. Now, when it comes to learning songs, tablature has really made things really easy for many different guitar players. It is easier to read and learn for most than, say, standard notation. However, for those who are diving in and who are not sure of how to read it, it can seem a little intimidating. So today, we're going to take a look at what tab is, how to read it, and what all those funny little symbols and letters all mean. So let's start things out by explaining what exactly is tablature. Now, we've all seen what sheet music looks like, right? A 5-line staff with a clef at the beginning and some notes all tied together with bars and stems, some funny little squiggly lines, maybe a sharp, maybe a flat, a standardized way of notating music that can be easily read and performed. And I also remember my first guitar method books being written strictly in standard notation when I was coming up on the instrument. A great advantage because I was able to learn to read music, but when you get into the more technically challenging pieces, if you're not really adept at reading that sort of stuff, things can get difficult. And one sunny afternoon, I went to the corner store and I picked up my first issue of Guitar World magazine, which caught my eye because it said that we have transcriptions of how to play certain songs in the magazine. So I flip over to the pages where the transcriptions were, and to my amazement, we had everything written in standard notation and these funny little lines and numbers underneath the standard notation. What tablature is something akin to a musical staff. However, instead of having the standard 5 lines, like most musical staves have, tablature has 6. Instead of notes, we have numbers. So let's start with the 6 lines of the staff. The 6 lines themselves represent the 6 strings on the guitar. So if you're looking at tablature, you're looking at the guitar's neck from this perspective. The bottom line of the tab being your lowest string, so the low E, all the way to the top line of the staff, which represents your high E string. And like I said, instead of notes, we have numbers. And these numbers represent what fret you need to put your finger in to sound that particular note. So if we look at this first example, the first note appears as the number 3 on the second line from the bottom, meaning that I have to put a finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string to sound that particular note. Now, tablature does come in different shapes and sizes, from the classic double-staved system where we have standard notation followed by tablature underneath. You also have what I call the hybrid system, which features the 6-line tab staff with the numbers, but they've included the rhythmic markings from classical notation. This is the kind of thing that you will see most commonly on sites like Songster. And of course, when the internet came along and people were willing to share their transcriptions of certain songs, we have the internet version of tablature, which is strictly the 6-line stave with the numbers. And this is the kind of stuff that you will find on websites like Ultimate Guitar. Now, the advantage to the hybrid version that we find on Songster is that the regular internet tab lacks the rhythmic markings. So if you have some knowledge in how to read music and can read rhythm, you're better placed right away to play the notes in proper time right off the bat, whereas with most internet tab, we're kind of lacking those markings. So you need to rely on your ear and the original performance of the song to sort of know where to put the notes in the right spot rhythmically. So like regular sheet music, we read stuff from left to right. If you have a note that's just by itself, it just means you play a single note. Like in this first bar here where I have a C chord drawn out in tablature. Because the notes are written out one at a time, it means we play the notes one at a time, like this. When notes are stacked together like they are in the second bar, whether it is several notes, 2 notes, etc. It means that we play those 2 notes at the same time. And in this case, in the second bar, we have a fully drawn out C chord. However, instead of having the notes listed one at a time, going up and down the stave, they're all stacked one on top of the other, which means that we play them all at the same time. So single notes and chords are fairly easy to discern that way. One note, you just play one note. Several notes stacked together, play them all at the same time. So tablature also has its own special markings, like we see markings in classical music, sharps, flats, legato lines, etc. You will find a lot of that in tablature, along with some other markings to indicate various phrasing styles that are pretty unique to guitar, such as hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, etc., etc. So let's look at a few of them to help you get started. So in this example right here, we just have a series of notes just played by themselves. So if you see no other markings, assume that you just play those notes picked one at a time. For hammer-ons and pull-offs, in the internet version of tab, what you will find is a little H between the notes. And that H indicates that starting from the first note to the second, you will hammer on that second note, like so. And you continue to do that as long as there are H's between the notes. So on the first 3, it would go like that. Same thing for pull-offs. If you have a P between 2 notes, it means that you pull off from one note, from the first note to the second one, and continue to do so as long as there are P's in between the notes. So this example right here would be played as. In hybrid tab, anything that involves hammer-ons and pull-offs will be written using a legato line, which is the little curved line over the notes, and you will have an indication of H or P to tell you which notes are hammered on and which notes are pulled off. So if I were to take a look at the example here, it would be played the same way, though this would be more in line with how it would be written in the hybrid style. For slides, in the internet version, you will have a slash between the notes, meaning that you would play the first note and then slide into the next note. So a slash going this way means that you would slide up, and a slash going this way means you slide down. So if we take a look at this example here, and you would do that between notes as long as you had slashes. Anything else, as you notice between the first 2 notes, there is no articulation mark. There's no hammer-on, there's no pull-off. So you just pick between those and then slide into that note. And you do the same thing descending. In the hybrid tab system, you do see a slash. A slash going up means you slide up, and a slash going down means you slide down, with the little addition of SL written on top, SL being short for slide. Nice and easy. Now, for bends. This is where things get a little bit interesting, okay? In the regular internet tab, a bend is indicated by a B between 2 notes. The first one, if we look at this example, you notice that there's a B between the 7 and the 9. So the 7 is where I'm going to bend. That is the note that I'm going to bend on. And then you see the letter B followed by 9, which means that I want to bend the note at the 7th fret to the pitch that is found on the 9th fret. So if that's the 7th fret, and if the pitch is there, that's my target. So I would go and again, on the descending run, you will notice that I have written out. So again, the note at 7th is being bent up to the pitch of the 9th fret, back down to 7, ending on 5. So in hybrid tab, a bend would be indicated via a curved line pointing up. That curved line would also include an indication as to how far to bend, whether it be half tone or semitone. A tone, often indicated also as full, as in a full tone, or anything beyond that. So a semitone, the target pitch of a semitone, if I were to bend here at the 7th fret, the target pitch would be at the 8th fret. That's my target pitch, so this would be a half. A full tone, or a tone, if you will, would be 2 frets away. So there's my target pitch. That's full. That's half. So if I were to play this bar, so if we were to put it all together in this final example, we can see how we can indicate an entire phrase with various articulations, chords, single notes, everything that we need to know to play the line properly. So if we take a look at this little Jimi Hendrix inspired riff, we notice that we start with some chords, followed by a hammered-on Hendrix style lick, followed by a sliding chord move, ending off with a blues lick. So you will hear the lick twice. The first one showing you how it would be written in internet style tab, followed by the same lick again, only with how it would be written in the hybrid songster style tab. So here are a couple of guitar tab power moves also for you to remember. Number 1, if you are checking guitar tab on the internet, do check out the rating. For the people writing out guitar tab for others to play, it is their interpretation of what the performer did originally. Some transcriptions are better than others. And usually the guitar playing community is very good at rating the best ones. So if you're looking to learn something via tab, be sure to try to go for ones with the highest rating. The other pro move tip for you is to use your ears, especially when dealing with internet style tab, because of the lack of rhythmic markings. So you will really need to use your ears and your eyes to determine which groups of notes goes where within the space of time inside a bar in order to play something that is rhythmically accurate. With the hybrid style tab, we do have the rhythmic markings, which does help. But if you are relying solely on internet style tab, definitely use your ears. They will definitely help you. And the other power move is that if you play a note and it sounds wrong, try to figure out why. Once again, we are dealing with an interpretation, okay? So if a note that you see in tab and you're playing it and it sounds a little wrong, it might be. I mean, for the people who are writing this out, they are human. Little mistakes do happen. So if you have a doubt, go back to the original recording and try to see if the note is actually the right one, or if it's a different one on the recording and maybe just got miswritten on the tab itself. Again, these things happen, but it's also a good way to train your ears to be able to pick out notes. So if you know the song really well and you learn the tab and you notice that this note sounds a little off, try to see if you can find the answer as to why. So if you found this video helpful, why not give it a like? Do share it with your guitar tab loving friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you are subscribed or you've just subscribed, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you are notified of new videos the second they become available. We hope you've enjoyed this little one-on-one lesson on how to get started in reading guitar tablature. Once again, for Equipboard, my name is Kevin Doe. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Now, go get playing.